Hey, Solid Mustang flying up on your wing here. How is everybody doing? And as a wingman, I am taking one for the team. I am playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Please do as I did and gamefly this game. Do not buy this game. It is a bad Call of Duty game. I would say this is the second worst Call of Duty game ever made, maybe the third. I put it right there with Modern Warfare 3 and it's not as bad as Ghost. I definitely think Ghost was the worst game that they've ever put out, but this is right in there. And let's talk about why I think this is a failure to adjust for Call of Duty. First thing, let's get into first-person shooter basics. And I give them a failing grade in this. The servers are still having problems. Yeah, I'm host migrating. Remember that little scene right here. Just remember this little scene. We'll come back to that. That little sequence of events. But the servers, you're in your 14th, 15th Call of Duty game online, you should have this down. And now you open up a new port in the NAT types. So now you got to get in the computer, you got to change up the NAT type and make sure those things are up and running. Stop with that kind of stuff. It's time to come up with something new. Time to come up with better things, and there are better things out there instead of an NAT type and that type of server connection type deal that we could definitely be dealing with here, and they're just not doing it because this is a cheaper option. That's it. Instead of a quality, they went cheap to maximize profits, which I know they want to maximize profits, but least Call of Duty ever sold. Least one ever sold. How much are your profits? The single player campaign is unimaginative. It's exactly the same thing as the last one. It's exactly the same thing as Advanced Warfare. There's no difference in it. You know, I get my arm taken off by an airplane door, or I get my arms ripped off by a robot. Either way. It's exactly the same. So, and it only took me a few hours to get done. And if you take out all the, which is what I did, I stopped the timer on little video cut screens and stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty darn short if you take all that out. Okay, the game mechanics. Okay, one, the movement of the people. As you see me, well, I was kind of thought someone was going to come around that corner. You feel very clunky, especially if you're the robot guy. And we'll get into that guy here in a little bit later, the Spectre. We'll get into him in a little bit. But it feels just so very clunky. It's not a smooth feel. The guns themselves, they don't feel right. The aim feels a little off, and especially on the SMGs, the aim definitely feels off. And the other thing is that I don't know, just the feel of them, the recoil, definitely feels off there too. It's not a predictable recoil. It's just kind of all over the place. I mean, I've done circles around people before. It's just kind of ridiculous. The SMGs are really bad. The range on the shotgun, there's a shotgun that has more range than half the SMGs and has the range of an assault rifle. It's the last one. You'll see it because I go through all the weapons, so you'll see it in there. What? Really? And it's a scatter shot. It's not a single shot. You're only going to put one hole into it. It's still a scattered shot. It's ridiculous. They just don't learn. They do not learn. The robot specialist. Remember I told you, remember that scene? How come I shot the person behind the robot, but didn't shoot the robot? And then we saw it in the back portion there. I shot up the robot. It looked like he took an extra burst of hits. It just seems like the robot character carries more damage, and it really makes me wonder about that. Also, I feel between this girl I have here with the bow and arrow, which was really cool, and the and that robot are definitely, I think, the two easiest ones to get a hold of, or to kind of get used to on their little special abilities. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But I would think you want to go to the robot, and it seems like the robot is always the top player in any match I've seen. He's always the top player. Too much clutter, again, is my next problem. Now see what I mean? Too much clutter, too much animation stuff, too much of this, all this extra stuff going on, all these extra camos. The case in point is the winner circle. Why do we really need that? Is it kind of cool looking? Yeah, it's kind of cool looking, but do you really need that? Okay. Do you really need that kind of animation in here? It takes up speed on the download, speed on the uploads, your rates. It takes extra code, so it takes extra time to program. Why waste that kind of time? Why do that, and why make the servers work harder? Thus, they're not as adaptable. Thus, they're not working as well. Why do that? Okay. The little custom gamer tags or icons or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I'm already seeing boobs and sex stuff and cuss words and things to be completely rude and offensive. And maybe it's just me, maybe it's a bit of a personal thing. I think along with the random cuss words in here, those are a couple other things you could get rid of and it'd be okay, a lot of extra streaks, a lot of extra attachments for your guns and things like that you really just don't need. I think in this game you have 3 different types of red dot sights. Why? Aren't they all the same? They just kind of, maybe they look a little different, but aren't they do the exact same function? A one-time zoom and just a red dot? Aren't they the same?
Overwatch down.
So why are we doing that? The thermal sight, why? You really need a thermal sight? Well, I tell you what, with the custom camos, you might need that thermal sight in there, because you can customize your guys so much, everybody blends in all together. So it's really tough to know who is who. And they have a sight in here that fixes that, because the bad guys show up red and the good guys show up blue. But why? Do you really need that? Do you really need all those custom things? How about custom things within a team? So you got the Black Ops and you got the CDC, I think, or whatever. I don't know, whatever the other guys are. Give them uniforms and say, okay, here's your uniforms. Now you can customize within those uniforms, maybe make them a little bit different, but keep them within that range so you know who is who. So, you have 10 variants of the Black Ops, 10 variants of the other guys on helmet, gloves, and chest piece. Or camo, camo, helmet, and chest piece. Okay, and then call it right at that. You don't need all the extra stuff. You really don't. It was better when you had the Marines and the Al-Qaeda guys. You knew who was who. Okay, and I know it sounds great, and probably in real life, the other way is great, but we're not playing in real life. This is a video game. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's not. Let's get into how they copy it off of things. As this game's getting ready to end here. All the different specialists, all your different abilities. I'm using a bow. Sound familiar? How about the guy who slams those things down and kills everybody around him? That sounds familiar. Destiny, anybody? Why is Call of Duty trying to copy off of other games? Redwood, I mean, everybody else to go Ewok Village, or was that just me because I'm a Star Wars nerd? It's the Ewok Village. It's exactly what it is. I mean, brought up a map of the Ewok Village and bring up that Redwood map, and you go, oh, really? I knew where you got this from. What are you guys doing? You're Call of Duty. You're not Titanfall, which is exactly where the jumping and everything else came out of. Did you guys rehire all the respawn people? If you're going to make a Titanfall, make a Titanfall. This is Call of Duty. Stop. Stop with all the junk. Seriously. You know, I don't mind them copying. Some of the other maps are straight up copies off of old Call of Duties, and that's fine. They're kind of just remade, remastered Call of Duties maps, so it is what it is. I don't know the names of all the other maps on here yet, so, but you know, and that's fine because it's a Call of Duty game. It is what it is. But this game, when you're playing on the multiplayer, leaves you upset, it leaves you tired, it leaves you frustrated, and that's not what these games are supposed to be for. It's supposed to be a game. It's supposed to be able to relax, kick back with friends, have a beer if you're old enough, and sit back and relax and enjoy a game. So, by the way, if you didn't notice that, I put 3 barrel attachments all at the same time. You can do that now. So just for suggestion out there. Call of Duty has not been enjoyable for a long time for me. It just hasn't been. And they need to get back to that. They need to get back to the basics. Get back to Call of Duty 4. Remaster that, put on Games of Gold so you actually get a good Games of Gold on for $25. Bring out some DLCs for 10 with a couple maps and a gun from previous Call of Duties or other Call of Duties, and leave it in that format and just let it go. So with games like Battlefront, Fallout 4, Division, and others all coming out, the best option right here is do what I said at the beginning of this video. Rent this game. Rent it. If you enjoy it, then you can go out and buy it, but I would rent it first. As we run through, there's your robot, your Reaper. But I would rent this game first and then come back to it. That would be my suggestion to you. If you like it then go out and buy it. So, anyways, as always, it's Solid Mustang. Have a great day. I've got your 6.